Hello and welcome to Drunk on Tea. Today I'm going to show you how I paint up this Minas Tirith Bowman for the Middle-earth strategy battle game. So the first thing I've done is I've primed the model black, as this will give us an even base coat for the rest of our colours to work from. And the first thing I'm doing, I'm coming in with lead belcher. I'm going to paint all of the armour on the model. As so much of the model is armour, it's a good idea to get this painted first so we don't have to worry about dealing with it later. So in a couple of smooth coats, I'm going to cover all of the armour panels and any chainmail on the model with a couple of coats of lead belcher. So just make sure you cover all of the metallic details. Doesn't matter if you get this over any other areas because we will be coming back in and tidying up afterwards. And after a couple of coats of lead belcher, you can see we've got a smooth, even base coat all over the armour to the model. So now with some known oil, I'm going to come in and shade all of the armour on the miniature. So just make sure you cover all of that lead belcher with a coat of known oil to shade the model. And after that known oil is dried, you can see it's added some definition and brought out all of the panels on his armour. So now the last step on the armour is I'm going to come in with some Storm Hose Silver and I'm going to dry brush all over the model. So this just needs to be a light dry brush just to catch all of those raised edges and details on the armour and give them a highlight. And with that dry brush applied, that is all of the armour on the model painted and highlighted. So now the next step we're going to do is come in with some Abaddon black. I'm going to tidy up any areas that may have got some silver on them during the previous steps. So for this I'm just coming through and painting all of the areas that we don't want to be silver with a coat of Abaddon black to bring them back to a nice smooth colour. So that'll be things here like his bow, his face, any fabric and any other details that we don't want to be silver. I'm catching them with a coat of Abaddon black. Be nice and neat at this stage. Try not to get this over any of the armour we've already painted and highlighted, but just take your time, work your way around the model, pick out all of the non-metallic details with a coat of Abaddon black. And with that Abaddon black applied, we've blocked in all of those areas that we don't want to be silver on the model. So now with some Bogman's Glow, we're going to come in and paint the face on the model. Now this is a very small area tucked away here in his helmet. Just be nice and neat and catch all of that face detail we can see with a couple of coats of Bogman's Glow. And with the face picked out, that's the first of the details base coated on the model. So now with some Xandri dust, I'm going to paint the bow on the model. Now this is going to give us a light wood colour. If you prefer a dark wood colour, come in with some dryad bark for this step instead. but for my Minas Tirith models I quite like the look of a lighter wooden bow. So just catch the bow with a couple of coats of Xandri dust. And that's the bow painted in a nice light wood colour. So now I'm coming in with some Corvus black, and for this I'm going to paint all of the fabric, so things like his gloves and his tunic. His hair and the scabbard on the model. I know we're painting black over the Abaddon black we blocked in with. Corvus black is a much lighter colour and will allow us to shade the black to add some definition, which we can't do with Abaddon black. And also by blocking in means we can do this in just one coat of Abaddon black rather than several. And with all of those black details painted with Corvus black, the model's really starting to come together. So now with some Mournfang brown, I'm going to paint the quiver on the model. I'm painting this with Mournfang brown, so it's a lighter brown colour than the rest of the leather details we're going to paint, and just adds a little bit of interest and helps break up the model. So just catch this quiver with a couple of coats of Mournfang brown. And with the quiver painted, the next thing I'm doing is I'm going to come in and paint all the rest of the leather details. So for that, I'm coming in with Rhinox hide. I'm going to paint all of the strapping on the model. So it's things here like his belt. He's got some straps on his arms holding the armour plates in, and his legs as well. So I'm just catching all of these areas with a coat of Rhinox hide. And also make sure I catch the strapping here on the quiver that's holding it to his waist. And with the Rhinox hide applied, there's only one more base colour left to apply to the model. And that's some Celestra Grey, which I'm just going to use to paint the fletching on the arrows in his quiver. So just catch these feathers with a couple of coats of Celestra Grey. So that's all of our base colours applied. So now the next step to do is to shade the miniature. So the first shade I'm coming in with is some Reichland Flesh shade. I'm just going to apply this to the skin, showing through his helmet. And with some Agrax Earth shade, I'm going to apply this to the bow, all over that light wood to darken it down a little bit. I'm also going to apply it to the quiver as well. And finally, with some Nuln Oil, I'm going to shade all of the Corvus black and the Rhinox hide on the model. So just catch all the fabric and the strapping and the Celestra Grey fletching as well with a shade of Nuln Oil.
If you're enjoying the video, please press like. If you want more videos, press the subscribe button and ring the notification bell.
And now those shades have dried, you can see it's really added some definition all over the model. So the first thing I'm going to do is start highlighting the face. So for that, I'm coming in with some Cadian Flesh Tone first. I'm going to apply this on all the raised areas that the shade didn't settle. So it's things here like his chin, his lips, and his cheekbones, just catching these with a thin layer of Cadian Flesh Tone. And with the Cadian Flesh Tone applied, it's brought some colour back to his face. So now I'm coming in with some Kislev Flesh. I'm going to apply this on the most prominent parts of his face, so it's just the very tip of his chin, the bottom lip, and pronounce point on his cheekbones, just catching these with a little spot of Kislev Flesh. And with the Kislev Flesh applied, that's the skin on his face highlighted. So I'm going to come in now and paint his eyes. So for this, I'm coming with Abaddon Black first. I'm going to sink a little bit of this into the recess for his eye socket. Be nice and neat, trying to not get this over anything else other than that recess. And with a bit of white scar, I'm going to come in and put a line within that black we just applied. You'd be nice and gentle with the brush here. And then finally, with some Abaddon Black again, you'll add a small vertical line in the middle of that white that will act like a pupil. And if you come in too thick or you need to cut back and forth between the white scar and the Abaddon Black, you can, until you get some eyes that you're happy with. And with those eyes painted on the model, there's now the face completely painted and highlighted. So now with some Ushabti bone, I'm going to come in and lightly dry brush all over the bow to add some texture and brighter colour to that wood. But be nice and careful trying to not get this over anything other than the bow, but just catch it with a light dry brush of Ushabti bone. And so with the bow dry brushed, it's added some texture all over that bow. And now with some Gorthor Brown, I'm going to highlight all of the Rhinox hide. So I'm just going to catch the edges of all of the strapping with a really thin edge highlight of Gorthor Brown over all of those straps. Take your time at this step, keep these lines nice and thin, and just give an edge highlight to all of the strapping on the miniature. And with all of the strapping highlighted, the next thing is going to move on to highlighting all of the black areas. So I'm coming in with some Mechanica Standard Grey for this. And I'm going to apply a chunky edge highlight to all the raised parts of the fabric. Be all of these raised folds here on his tunic. I'm catching these with an edge highlight of Mechanica Standard Grey, as well as his gloves. And I'm also going to catch all the strands of hair with a thin line of Mechanica Standard Grey as well. Just working my way around, and all the areas we painted black, I'm just catching the most raised parts with a chunky edge highlight of Mechanica Standard Grey. And with that Mechanica Standard Grey applied, you can see it's added a little bit of interest to all of the black areas on the model. So now I'm coming in with some Dawnstone. I'm going to apply a thin edge highlight on the fabric within all of those areas. We just applied the Mechanica Standard Grey. So try and keep these nice and thin, just in the middle of all the areas you applied the Mechanica Standard Grey. Catch them with a really thin edge highlight of Dawnstone. On the gloves here, I'm just catching the tips of the fingers and the knuckles with a little spot of Dawnstone. But on all of the fabric, I'm applying this as a thin line within the previous lines we just applied. I'm not applying this to the hair, the Mechanica Standard Grey. Will create a difference in colour between the hair and the rest of the fabric. And with that Dawnstone applied, it's really brought out all of the details and all of those black areas of the model. So next, with some white scar, I'm just going to come in and highlight the fletching on those arrows. So I'm just adding some little spots at the edges of the arrows that will act like an edge highlight on all of the feathers. And with those arrows highlighted, there's only one thing left to highlight now on the miniature, and that will be the quiver. So for the quiver, I'm coming in first with some Mournfang Brown again. I'm going to apply this on all the areas that the shade didn't settle. So on all the raised areas, coming in and adding some Mournfang Brown just to bring those areas back up to colour. With the Mournfang Brown applied, it's brightened up some of those areas of the quiver back to their original colour. And now with a 50-50 mix of Mournfang Brown and Scrag Brown, I'm applying this in some areas on the quiver in a scratchy kind of pattern, just to give the impression of some worn leather. So just pick some spots and apply a little bit of Scrag Brown in these areas. The Scrag Brown applied, it's lightened up some of those areas on the quiver, and now there's just one last highlight to apply, and that's with some pure Scrag Brown. I'm just coming in and doing an edge highlight on all the areas of the quiver. So these areas where we applied the mix of Scrag Brown and Mournfang Brown, just adding a scratchy edge highlight around the edges of those, and all the sharp edges, I'm just applying a thin line of Scrag Brown as an edge highlight. And with that final highlight applied, that is how to paint a Bowman of Minas Tirith quickly and easily for the Middle-earth strategy battle game. So thank you very much for watching. Please, in the comments down below, let me know if there's any other Middle-earth miniatures you'd like to see me paint. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and happy painting!